Alright. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Robbie Talks Wrestling. I am, of course, you guessed it, Robbie. This is my first episode. What I want to do here on the channel is I want to cover smaller promotions that aren't covered by a lot of big YouTubers because, they just don't generate the clicks. But I'm doing this more as a hobby, and I want to cover TNA, which is my home team, but I also want to cover NWA and MLW. Those are the only shows that I watch ever in full. I guess I just prefer the underdog aspect of it, but I'll tune into the big moments of AEW or WWE. But the only shows I watch in full is primarily TNA Impact, but for the purposes of this channel, I'm going to expand that to more regularly covering MLW and NWA. That brings us to our topic of the day. Our very first topic, hot topic. Figured I might as well jump on it while the heat is good for getting. And that is that last week, Anthem announced that they had terminated the contract of TNA President Scott D Amore. And this termination, for me and for a lot of people initially came with bad feelings. It's really a weird time to let go of a guy, after you had this big successful rah-rah rebrand back to TNA, this big successful pay-per-view, a big new signing in Nick Nemeth, a lot of fanfare going around. Now was a really weird time to fire a guy. And I know I felt icky about it. I felt like, it was very much LOL TNA kind of vibes. Like, here we have the ball rolling, and you go and do something stupid like this. The reason they put out was that they wanted to integrate the brand further with the rest of their properties. The narrative that came out was that Scott D Amore was trying to get more funds out of Anthem, and they weren't seeing it. He tried to buy the company, and they didn't go for that. And eventually he was let go. Now along with a lot of other people, I don't think this makes any sense. I don't see why he couldn't have been demoted, or why they couldn't have put somebody over him, or why he could have just been told, like, nope, this is what you have to do. Unless there's something more than this, and I've got a couple theories I can loosely throw out there, just for the sake of fun. One thought that crossed my mind was, Nick Nemeth was now the top star of the company. He just signed, became Hard to Kill. He was on the first set of tapings, but he's on the second set of tapings too, but he wasn't on this most recent set of tapings. Now, that could mean nothing. I'm sure Nick Nemeth can work whenever he wants, so it could just be that. Or maybe Nick Nemeth came in and wanted to call his shots, and Scott D Amore wouldn't let that happen, so Nick Nemeth took it up to the real boss, and Nick Nemeth won out. Maybe now Nick Nemeth is a bigger asset than Scott D Amore. That's one theory. my other theory is that Scott D Amore's dating Giselle Shaw, who's becoming more and more prominently featured on TV. Is getting a shot at the Knockouts Championship. One thought that crossed my mind was any type of this is a relatively controversial topic. Not in just that Scott D Amore is dating an employee, so there's all sorts of stuff loaded in that Anthem might not want to associate with. And then there's also sorts of stuff loaded into the politics of transgenderism and how Anthem, how Len Asper, Anthem, and all their properties, if they feel like that identifies with them. I don't know. That's just a theory that I'm throwing out there. But at the end of the day, after I got done mourning a little bit, sort of scared, worried for TNA. The other end of it is that, they're not giving up. Anthem is invested in TNA. They're doing what they think is best for TNA. I sure hope, but that's what I'm going to go into it looking at. I'm scared that this roster is going to have loyalty to Scott D Amore, that they will leave in droves. And this roster is really the draw to TNA for me, is that it's just a roster full of great wrestlers. They're all great wrestlers. Hopefully, this new regime can maintain that. But other than that, the other realist, what you have to look at is, I've heard this take, and I agree with it. When Hard to Kill, when they did Hard to Kill and they did the rebrand, I was sort of looking at the next TNA Impact, and I was hoping for like a banged up show. I was hoping for something extra, and what we got, in my opinion, was fine. It was mid. Your wrestling was good, the angles were all right, but it was nothing. And I really wanted something. I was really hoping for something more. And I think a lot of people will agree with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with their show per se, but after a big pay-per-view, you're coming on your hot TV show. God, give me a big angle. Give me something to care about. Instead, all we got was, look, Moose is fine, and Eddie Edwards has always been great, and Brian Myers is Brian. No hate to any of these people, but they just, the stable with the world title, a stable of 3 stale people doing the same stuff that they've been doing for 2 years. I don't like that they took the title off of Alex Shelley. I am way more invested in Alex Shelley than I am Moose. And Alex Shelley is actually a phenomenal talker, so I don't know why they don't have him out there doing stories, because he's entertaining. He's like CM Punk, but without all the toxicity. So with that said, I'm going to give them a chance. I hope they don't lose their roster. I hope that these improvements that they want to make, I hope that they are, I hope it works out for them. But I'm going to be covering TNA Impact. I'm going to start with this last episode. That'll be my next video. And I'll also be doing, later this week, I'll be covering MLW, and I'll be covering some NWA on USA. But for now, that is all. Thank you.